and told them. And they informed me that I wasn't the first one that Brother Rose had molested. And up until that point, all those years, I wasn't sure. I thought I was the only one. And so you carry that guilt around for a long time. So it was very interesting to find out that there were others, and there was a sense of anger also that there were others. And it was, I've told Pat, I said it's just a strange dynamic, because part of me was relieved knowing that there were other victims and it wasn't something that I did, because it's very easy to carry that guilt. And like I said, a lot of anger too, that how could someone be allowed to molest that many kids and have that not come out. And so there was a lot of frustration there. So anyway, that helped, just contacting the Christian Brothers helped me internally resolve a lot of things, and felt at peace about coming out and becoming more vocal about it and sharing my story with people. It was last May that I received a phone call from my sister, who said that there was an article in the paper about Raymond Rose, along with his picture, and about an incident involving a person that had a similar situation that I had. And so I read the article, and it was like, wow, it's almost the same story. It was just so similar. It was scary. And my sister actually thought possibly I had done this without anyone knowing, and because it was so similar. So I contacted the reporter by email, and I just said, I don't know who the person is. He's a John Doe, listed as a John Doe, but I just want him to know that I believe his story, because the same thing happened to me. And so that's what got me here, I guess. The reason I'm coming forward at this time is that, as an educator, I've been in Moose Lake as an educator for over 30 years, and we talk a lot about teachable moments. And a teachable moment is something happens and you take advantage of that situation and talk about it, and hopefully some learning can take place. I guess I look at this as a teachable moment. I never thought I would be here at a press conference, never thought I'd be talking publicly about what happened to me. And I just want to use this time for, if there are folks out there, kids, adults, whatever, that have been molested or abused in any way, it's so important to get the help they need, talk to somebody, process it, and don't internalize it, and it can tear you apart. And so, as an educator, I guess we talk a lot about continuing education and lifelong learning, and I'm still learning along the way. If I can share anything that will help prevent a child from being molested, or help an adult that has been molested get through their ordeal, that's why I'm here.
Just as an aside, before joining administration, didn't you win an award, a teaching award?
Yeah, I was the 2000 Milken National Educator for Minnesota, and which was a great honor to have. And it is given to teachers or educators that have leadership capabilities, and that made a difference in the lives of kids. So I hope I can just continue that.
Did you want to make that?
Yeah.
Just
slide those mics down.
When I read the Pioneer Press article, one that Timothy alluded to when he sent an email, I'm looking at that, and the first thought that came into my mind is this guy is the bravest man in America. We had just finished an activity where we were doing victim outreach. In this case, it was with John Doe 128 up at the school that he was at, where he went on a religious retreat and was violently sexually abused by Raymond Rose. So we had to go to Cretin-Durham Hall High School. And the next day, the principal of Cretin released the name of John Doe 128 to the current families that were going to that school. You don't do that. And the way SNAP looked at that was an effort to silence those that are suffering from sexual abuse and to keep them from coming forward. Then I see one of the top educators in the state of Minnesota standing up and doing the complete opposite. You've got to break the silence, you've got to reach out. So that's where this thought is, bravest man in America. And then sadly, a week later, I am in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, doing an outreach at Pacelli High School. We knew Raymond Rose had also taught there. As we stood on the public sidewalk in front of that school, law enforcement came up and introduced themselves, and they informed us that the school was on a lockdown. Here's a messenger reaching out for those that may have been abused, families that have been harmed by Raymond Rose at that school, and they want to do a lockdown. They want to shut it down, shut the subject down. Again, I think of Tim Caroline, and I'm going, the man's doing it right. Every day I've thought of, as I've done some of these journeys of outreach, I keep thinking of the guy that's doing it right. It's Tim. I just want you to know that. To me, Tim has this survivor's sixth sense. And many of us inadvertently recognize these negative dynamics in kids that are associated with childhood abuse, not just sexual abuse, but child abuse. And Tim has that. And because of the teaching moment that Tim is sending to society right now, he's going to help eradicate major negative dynamic of this country, which is major, I should say, the major social sickness in this country, which is child abuse. The more knowledge gained by society, the more prevention. Now, another part of Tim's sixth sense is he knows how to ask the question. I want to ask you a question about this special needs teacher. Apparently there was a child that was having a problem at school where you have interacted with her professionally before. Correct. I hope it's not off bounds, but can you tell us what she said about you when this issue came up?
Yes, when she came into my office and knew I was personally struggling, and I shared my story with her, she just looked at me and said, "Now it makes sense." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, when we have had difficult situations with students, and she's been part of that, trying to get the child or family help, she said you always had a sense of compassion, and it meant a lot to hear that.